Record. So today we are going to jump into the art of contest judging and how the judges' ballot works, whether it be the judges or for the contest. When I was discussing it with the event chair, DTM Murli, I was just asking him, you're calling in a contestant, who's been contesting year after year to talk about judging. He said, like, no, this is not just purely for judging. This is also about contestants to know about the international speech contest. And this was the words that he said, there can be no better person to know about the judging criteria than what a contestant would do. So having said that, let me jump right into the my talk. I just take your confirmation. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
So you're able to see my screen, right? Great.
Yes.
So let's just move on directly. Are you able to see the split screen or are you seeing the full screen?
Full screen.
The full screen, yes. Okay. So I am Dr. Sundar. Okay, I am from District 79. I have been part of multiple clubs here in District 79, especially in Riyadh. And I became a DTM in 2021. And one of the best parts of being in Toastmasters is, in addition to learning public speaking skills and leadership skills, has been the ability to contest every year in the speech contest. So I'm a no bounds guy. I go and participate in all contest categories, and it was in 2022, if I'm not wrong. I had won in almost all the categories except the international speech, where I came second. So today our focus is going to be primarily about the international speech contest, which is indeed the most coveted among all the contests that we come across in Toastmasters International. In the centenary year of Toastmasters International, I would like to quote the words of Ralph Smedley, the founder of Toastmasters International. While most of us may have entered Toastmasters to learn to make speeches, the benefit is but the beginning of the good, which may come to us, and the good which may do for mankind. So this is something which we all should remember. Whatever that we learn in Toastmasters, it is more important that we apply it outside of Toastmasters. And this is what the true essence of Toastmasters is all about. So talking about speech contests, why do we need speech contests? Is it just to judge who is the best speaker in the district? Or is it to have some fun or, a kind of enthusiasm, the kind of competitive edge so that we go and compete on a stage to find out who's better or where do I stand when I'm going to compete against others? In reality, contests provide an opportunity to practice competitive speaking. And by competitive speaking, I mean to say that any kind of speech that you deliver on a stage, you compete with others and you are judged to be a winner or a first runner-up, a second runner-up, or just a participant. Well, we always commonly say that anybody who has garnered the courage to walk on the contest stage is indeed a winner. No doubts about it. Because having contested for almost 6 years continuously, I know that every year that I go contest, whether I win or lose, there has been something that I have been learning. Where I started and where I begin and where I have reached after every contest season is remarkable because you have started to see a better version of yourself. So this is one of the most important things about contests and which we all need to realize. And as a judge as well, when you judge contests, it is always a learning experience for you to go through. The next important thing is contests are an interesting part of the education program for members as well as the public. So this not only showcases your talent as a speaker, but also showcases the potential of Toastmasters International to the public as an organization of value and repute. Last but not least, it is an opportunity for all of us to learn by observing proficient speakers. So this is the main idea behind contests. So certain criteria which has to be remembered, whether you are a contestant or whether you are a judge. This is something that has to be a take-home message for every one of you. First and foremost is eligibility. whether you are a contestant or you're a judge, there are certain criteria which you have to be following to be eligible. Number one, you have to be a member in good standing of a club which is in good standing. Okay, if you have paid your dues and your club is not in good standing, you are still not eligible to be a contestant or a judge. So you have to be in good standing, as well as your club also has to be in good standing. So this is the first and foremost criteria. And remember that by being in good standing, it has to be on the first date that you embark on the contest journey. So the day when you are contesting at your club level, you should have been a member in good standing and your club should have been in good standing. If that has not happened at any future point in time, you can still be disqualified because you have not fulfilled that eligibility criteria. And this eligibility rule applies to all the other eligibility rules as well. Okay. And to be an international speech contestant, you have to have completed at least 2 levels in a pathway. It can be any path. It need not be any specific path. It can be any path out of the pathways available in the education program. You should have completed 2 complete paths, and you should have the certificate as well as your second path should be reflecting in your club central. Okay, your club pathways manager would know what a club central means, and it has to reflect in the club central. Many a times we see members take certificates of completion from the base camp. The pathways has 2 fulfillment areas. One is the base camp and the other one is the club central. So the first step is always in the base camp, where you put in your individual data, and it's self-filled data for your path completion. And once you have done it, it is approved by your vice president education or any other pathways manager in your club, and then you get your completion certificate. But that is just not enough. The pathways manager of your club has to update this in the club central, and it has to reflect on your club dashboard. Otherwise, you stand ineligible. So please remember that. We have had instances in District 79 where a person who, having competed of the club area and the division levels, and then afterwards could not go further because of this simple misstep by one of the pathways manager in their clubs. And another thing is, if it is a charter club, if you are a member of a newly chartered club, then you are eligible to contest without having completed the 2 levels in pathways. And for people who are not into pathways, I believe that most of us members have migrated to the pathways education program in Toastmasters International. For those of you with the old curriculum or the old education program, you should have been holding a DTM award at least. Okay. Previously, there was an exception to this. If you have completed 6 speeches in the competent communication manual, you are allowed to participate in international speech contest. But currently, if you are somebody who is a member who's not into pathways, or probably into pathways, not completed 2 levels in paths, but are a DTM from the old education program, you are eligible to participate. But other than DTMs from the old education program, I'm sorry, you have to jump the wagon into pathways, and you have to complete those 2 levels in paths before you do it. And who is responsible to take care of this? Okay, if you are someone who's planning to be a judge and attending today's training, don't worry, this is not your responsibility. It is the responsibility of 2 leaders in the contest team. That is going to be the contest chair and the chief judge. In all possibilities, it is going to be the contest chair who is going to check all these eligibility criteria. And if you are someone who's planning to be a chief judge, then it is your responsibility to go and check with the contest chair whether these eligibility rules have been fulfilled or not. Again, chief judge criteria is a separate ball game. Okay, we are not going to discuss about it because there are certain criteria of how many judges to select for each contest. Okay, what should be the distribution of the makeup of the judges in each contest level. So that's going to be something different. I believe the program quality team at District 2020 is also planning something. Other than that, if you are going to be a judge, these eligibility rules apply for you as well. You have to have completed at least 2 levels, except for a club contest where any member in good standing can be a judge. Other than a club contest, when you go to the area, division, or the district levels, you should have completed at least 2 levels in an unique path, or you should be holding a Distinguished Toastmaster Award from the old education program. So this is going to be the eligibility criteria. So before even you start, you have to remember this. Okay, so if you are someone who is aiming to take part in the international speech contest, do not forget the timing criteria. Okay. As a judge, it is not your responsibility to take care of the timing criteria because you should not be biased by the timing criteria. This is something important for a judge. You should be judging a speaker's speech based on its content, delivery, and language, and not based on the time. And this is one of the reasons why the timing lights are shown only to the contestant and nobody else in the audience, at least for all practical reasons, is not able to see it. So the timing lights are always facing the contestant, and it is only the contestant who knows the timing lights, and nobody else in the audience is able to know about it. But if you look at logistical and practical reasons, everybody gets to know about it when the switch is on or the light changes color. But as a judge, this is my humble take for you that never be judged biased by the timing criteria. So for a contestant, the timing criteria is for the international speech. Although you have the green light shown at 5 minutes, any speaker who speaks 4 minutes and 30 seconds or beyond is considered qualified. And how much can you speak or how longer can you speak? It will be 7 minutes and 30 seconds. And as of 2023, the manual for Toastmasters speech contests, if you are using a stopwatch, you are not supposed to consider fractions of timing. So you say, for example, if somebody is speaking 7 minutes, 30 seconds, and probably 55 microseconds, you should still consider them as eligible. They would be considered disqualified if the stopwatch goes 7 minutes, 31 seconds. So this is important to remember. This also applies to the 4 minute 30 seconds rule. So if somebody has spoken 4 minutes, 29 and 66 microseconds, when you turn off the stopwatch, they are still disqualified. So this is something important to remember for someone who's training to be a timer in the contest stage. Please make a note of it. There are certain exceptions to the timing criteria if there are any technical defects. Okay, if there are any technical issues, then on the discretion of the chief judge and the contest chair, there can be a grace period of 30 seconds. So this is an exception, okay, which is given only when there is any kind of technical issue. So if there is any timing device failure, and this is the reason why we always have a backup timing device, which is the placards. So you may have an electricity failure at any point in time. So we have the timer cards so that we want to rule out this gray area. So this is a very rare exception. And in fact, one of the world champions of public speaking, not now, more than a decade ago, in fact, won the championship even after overshooting the 7 minutes, 30 seconds mark because of this grace period rule. Don't forget to remember, contestants must prepare their own speeches. So if you are someone looking to be a contestant in the International Speech Contest this year, remember to start writing your own speech. It has to be original. You can have content borrowed from others, which can be up to 25% of your speech. But this has to be quoted or paraphrased or referenced to that particular individual. For example, you're going to say an anecdote about some great personality as part of your speech. It is important that you refer to the person on whom the anecdote is based about, and probably from where this anecdote was borrowed. Probably it was from their biography or it was from an autobiography written by the same person. So it has to be referenced, it has to be quoted. So citing other people's work, be it a quotation or any kind of taglines, it is very important. So this is one important criteria where you could also be disqualified if someone raises a protest. So plagiarism is a strict no as far as Toastmasters international speech contest speeches are considered. So this is one of the reasons why whenever we go in for a speech contest training, we always tell that talk your own stories. So when it is your own story, there is no question or doubt about the originality because nobody else could have experienced that other than you or probably your family members. And so this is probably the best thing that you can do if you want your speech to be really original. If there are originality issues, there can be protests. I'll come to protests towards the last of this particular slide. And there is another important rule which is actually being followed over the last 3 or 4 contest seasons, according to the Toastmasters International Speech Contest Rulebook, which is to avoid callbacks or references from a previous speaker's speech. And this applies only to the international and humorous speech contests. Because for an evaluation contest or a table topic speech contest, you would be in an isolation room and you have no chance to listen to your previous or preceding speakers' speeches. But whereas in an international or a humorous speech contest, you are allowed to sit inside the speaking hall and you can listen to the speeches spoken by the previous speakers. And this is very important that you do not reference any particular part of the previous speaker's speech. Okay? So this gives an undue advantage, especially if you are a first speaker. Well, this does not apply to you, but if you are the second to the last speaker, then it applies to you, so don't do it. And coming now to the protests, this is important if you are a contestant or if you are planning to be a judge. Remember that any kind of protest for the international speech contest, or for that matter, any of those other 4 speech contest categories, the protests can be raised only by the contestants and the voting judges. Who are the voting judges? The voting judges are the judges who mark the ballots to give a score, and also the tiebreaker judge. Okay, so the tiebreaker judge also is part of the voting judges. The only thing is that the way they score is going to be different. The chief judge or the contest chair or the timer or any of the contest operations team are not allowed to raise protest. Similarly, no member or no ExCom member of the contestant's club or area or division is allowed to raise a protest. It is only the contestant themselves or the voting judges. And when can the protest be raised? The protest can be raised after the contests have finished and before the contest has been adjourned. So this is very important. So the sergeant at arms or the MC or the contest toastmaster announces that the international speech contest for club or area or division so and so is adjourned. At that point, all options for protesting are gone. Okay, so previously it used to be the term adjournment was not there. It used to be at the end of the entire contest day. So previously it was allowed until the results were announced, until the point results were announced. But now, since it is a prolonged time interval, so after every particular contest segment, the contest toastmaster or the master of ceremonies or the event chair adjourns that particular contest. So until that point, a protest can be raised. And protest can be raised only on 3 grounds. Number 1 is the eligibility. Okay, so eligibility, as I told you before, you should be a member in good standing, should have completed 2 levels in pathways or have a DTM from the old education program. Your originality, the originality is your speech content should be all yours. Up to 25% of borrowed content can be there, and even that should be referenced. And third thing, reference or calling back from another contestant's speech. In all of these criteria, if you are a voting judge, you raise the protest to the chief judge. If you are a contestant, you also raise the protest to the chief judge. The chief judge convenes a small committee at that point in time to decide whether the protest holds good or does not stand any ground. So depending upon that, the protest may be carried forward or can be annulled. So this is about protests. If you are going to be a contestant or a judge, it is important that you know about it. Now coming to the most important point of our talk today, which is going to be the judging criteria and ballots. Let me be more generic when I'm going to explain about it. And it is important that both contestants take home the message as well as the judges or the wannabe judges take home the message of what a judging is all about. So this is the coveted form which your chief judge is going to give it to you. And you are going to score every speaker who walks on the stage, if you are a judge, based on 3 important criteria. And if you are a contestant, you have to design your speech to fulfill these 3 criteria. What are these 3 criteria? Number 1 is the content. Number 2 is delivery. And number 3 is language. And if you look at it, I tell them in this sequence because they are in descending order of grades, not descending order of importance. Because sometimes your delivery and language may be so impeccable that it adds a cream to the content. Excuse me, I heard somebody talking. If you could mute, I would appreciate that. Okay, fine. So in terms of grades, content takes the major chunk. It's like 50% of all your speech or all your performance is going to be for the content of your speech. The delivery gives you around 30%, and the language is what gives you 20%. So this is according to the most recent Toastmasters International Speech Contest rulebook, I would like to just take you back to history. Until 2 years ago, the judging criteria was slightly different. Okay, if you look at it, it was still the same distribution. Content, delivery, and language had the same 50-30-30 distribution. But if you look at it, in content, okay, speech development had 20, effectiveness had 15 marks, and speech value had 15 marks. But whereas in the new ballot, which is the one that we are going to follow in this program year, you have speech development 15, effectiveness 10, and speech value is 25. Okay, so there has been greater impetus towards speech value. The rest of the things in terms of delivery and language remain the same. You have 10 marks for physical, voice, manner, and appropriateness and correctness. All of these, the old ballot and the new ballot remain the same. As far as the content, there has been a change wherein speech development had greater weightage early on. It was 20, 15, and 15. Now it is 15, 10 for the effectiveness of your speech, and 25 for your speech value. So this is most important. Okay, so if you are a judge, so what are you supposed to do? So you have the grading scheme. The maximum allowable grading scheme is mentioned here along with the content, delivery, and language. And for each sub-item of content or delivery or language, you have the maximum possible score. Okay. For example, if you take the case of speech development, it is 15, then it is effectiveness, it is 10, speech value 25, so on and so forth. Just to be a little bit more objective, Toastmasters International prescribes 4 criteria: excellent, very good, good, and fair. Okay, so there is no poor here. This itself is a testimony that Toastmasters International values all of us who walk on the stage as somebody remarkable. So either it is fair, good, very good, or excellent. So if you are someone who are a novice judge and you find it really difficult to go for the nitty-gritty of each point, then probably this is the best way to use the objective criteria. You could either take the top score or the bottom score in each one. So that way you have 7 objective criteria. So 2 for fair, 2 for good, 2 for very good, and 2 for excellent. And you can fixate on the point for each particular item. And if you are a seasoned judge, probably you would have seen multiple contests and multiple speakers are running the stages, then you would, I need not be teaching you what to do. So you would be more experienced in doing it. But there are certain things, as I told you, as a contestant, you will have to understand the judging ballot in and out. Only then you may be able to prepare your speech so that you tick all the boxes in the judging ballot. So in order to get this experience, I took up the, for one full program year, I took up the role of being a judge for different contests, the club, area, division, and district levels. Okay, wherever I get an opportunity, I'll just go and do it. So certain things that I learned from them is, for example, the judging ballot has like 10 slots, and each slot is for one of the speakers. So speaker number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, and each person you're going to score individually for their content items, delivery items, and language items, and then you're going to do the totaling. So there was one important point that I was taught and I have been following every time that I go as a judge. So this is to avoid any bias. What I do is like, I never reference to the previous speaker's scoring when I give scores for the next speaker. Like, for example, the first speaker has spoken. I give my scores for them. Now, what I do is like, I fold the contest ballot because it's usually a paper in such a way that I'm not able to see the first speaker's scores when I give the second speaker scores. Okay, so this is number 1. So this way, you are not benchmarking somebody. So otherwise, what happens is like we always say that the first speaker is at a disadvantage and the last speaker is at an advantage, because by the time the last speaker comes, we all tend to compare or benchmark the first speaker and move the scores of the others based on the first speaker. So this should not be done. So this way, you have to blind yourself to the previous speakers so that you have a fresh grading output or a perspective whenever you grade for each speaker. This is number 1. Number 2, another important thing is like, never do the totals. Do the totals at the end of it. Okay, don't do the totals immediately, because remembering individual scores may be difficult, but totals can be remembered because it's just 10 numbers, right? Okay, you may be having 65, 75, 80, 60, 55, 90. So this is easy to remember. Again, you will end up in the benchmarking game. So don't do the totals. Do the totals after all the contestants have finished their speeches and you have been given 3 minutes or 5 minutes to tally your ballots, and then you give your scores. If you are an voting judge, okay, you could be one of the two types. You could actually be a voting judge or a tiebreaker judge. So voting judge usually gives only the top 3 positions. They give the first place, the second place, and third place according to their judging criteria of scores. Whereas the tiebreaker judge is only one person among the judging panel, and he or she grades all the speakers. Like, for example, if we have 10 speakers, the tiebreaker judge is supposed to give first place, second place, third place, fourth place, so on and so forth, till 10th place. And the tiebreaker judge is not supposed to give out the results. Usually this scoring sheet is torn off. There is a bottom sheet. Due to space constraints, I have actually removed it. But when you go into the website, you can find out what the judging ballot is all about. The bottom sheet is actually torn off. And the voting judges give this bottom sheet to the tally counter. The tie-breaking judge gives his bottom sheet or bottom part of the sheet with the grades or the scoring for all the speakers, or the ranking rather, not the scoring, the ranking for all the speakers directly to the chief judge. So this way, the chief judge is able to make a decision. So in a contest operations training, they would tell you about how a tally counter works and things like that. So this is all about how the judging ballots and things work about. Now, let me just take you, or let us delve deeper into each one of these criteria. So that if you are a contestant, you will be able to prepare accordingly. And if you are a judge, you could prepare yourself to judge a contestant based on these specific criteria. So we move on to content. So anytime somebody asks me, okay, so you have won several speech contests, okay, so which part of the speech do you think is the best or the most important? I would always say content is the king or queen, okay, so content ranks first. So the content that you deliver in your speech is what is going to carry forward with your audience. What you have in your mind is transmitted through your words and actions to your audience, and they are going to carry forward. And if you have 100 people listening to your speech that, and even if there are 5 or 10 people carrying home a message after that, that means you have won with respect to your content. So in content, we have 3 important things. Okay, let's go in order of importance. And if you look at it, the order of importance is also the grades. So the number 1 thing is speech value. International speech contest speeches always have a deliverable message. This is the commodity that you are going to hand over to your audience. So the speech value or the message or the key lesson that you learned and you want your audience to imbibe it and take home a new leaf out of it is what is very important. And here you could be creative in bringing your own ideas, your logic, and your original thought. So this is where bringing in your own stories, your own struggles from which you learned and you succeeded really matters most. So the speech value is 25 marks. So if you are someone who is going to judge somebody's speech value, look at the speech as a whole. Don't bias individual parts of the speech. For example, a person may be delivering a speech with 2 or 3 small stories and connect them all together at the end. And if there has been a smooth transition and a very clear message that has been delivered to you as an audience, then speech value, they score high. So this is what you will be doing as a judge. The next important thing in the content is speech development. Like for example, we all know that we take a full course meal. We know that the meal is sumptuous, it's tasty, but we always follow a sequence, right? We have an entree or a starters, and then we have the main course, and then we have the desserts. Okay, so if you're going to swap them a little bit, probably you may not end up enjoying the entire meal. So speeches are also like that. And remember that speeches are a creative work of art. This is how I see a speech. It's a creative piece that somebody has done. So if a musician is able to make a good composition, or an artist or a painter is able to make a very good drawing or a picture or a portrait, same way for a speaker, it is the speech which is a creative work of art. So your speech development really comes to play here. Of course, you have to have the opening, body, and conclusion. This is very important. This is the basics of any speech. But how effective or how good are you in structuring and organizing this opening, body, and conclusion? So this is very important. So this is where you bring in your personal examples or anecdotes and bring in humor. Okay, so this way, your speech development looks optimal and is also easy to assimilate by the audience. Imagine that you're going to keep on telling stories after stories after stories, okay? Although they might have a good transition, but at the end of the day, 6 or 7 stories, the audience would be clueless which story you're talking about or what message you're trying to deliver. So this is the way you have to actually design your speech so that it is really effective. A normal method that most of us follow is have a very good opening, an opening that is really catchy, which sets the stage or which creates the suspense for the main story or the main part of your speech. And then you go over to the body of your speech, which is about the story or your struggle. In most cases, if you look at winning speeches, they've all gone through a down and an up. Okay, usually it starts with an up, then a down, and then an up. So the down is usually the struggle that people have gone through, and then how they have come through, or the struggle, or it's you can also call it a moment of realization. There is a word in English called as epiphany. Epiphany is like the moment of realization of what have I been doing so far? I have to be changing. So this is where that comes into play. So you have to incorporate it in your body. And then finally, your conclusion is where you give your message with clarity and invoke a call for action from your audience. Okay, it is not just enough that you are delivering a message, you will also have to motivate your audience to follow that message. So this is where your speech development comes into play. The third important thing in content is your effectiveness. There are 3 criteria if you look at it. Okay, it has to have a clear purpose. Okay? Your speech has to have a clear purpose. You cannot just simply say a story or an anecdote just for the sake of telling it. So this is where many contestants do, I would not call it as a mistake, probably something that is avoidable. Okay, even as a judge, if you go through many speeches, you would be able to pick it up. Like for example, just for the sake of bringing in humor, they just add a small anecdote or something. So this does not serve any clear purpose. Of course, you will have to uncover humor within your existing content and not add extra humor. Okay, humor is important. You'll have to keep the audience lively, laughing, and light at heart. Otherwise, it's going to be really boring. But at the same time, don't try to thrust humor just for the sake of doing it. Rather, try to uncover humor in those stories and instances which you are going to have in your speech. And when you have a clear purpose, you will achieve your purpose, how it connects to your message. And when these two are matching to each other, you will have relevance. So this is what is effectiveness all about. So when we talk about effectiveness, it is not about how you raise your voice or how you do your body language. Okay, fine. No, we are talking here only about the effectiveness of your content. So my dear wannabe judges, remember to look the above points in your contestants and how you would rank them on this scale of grades that you have. So this is how you're going to grade them for that particular speech content. Next thing is delivery. So if you take any speech, there are 2 things. One is the verbal attribute and the other one is the non-verbal attribute. The non-verbal attribute includes your stage presence, your body language, your voice, and how well you carry yourself out on the stage. So that is where delivery comes into play. Most of us say that for any good speech or any great speech, it is the non-verbal attributes that add power, that add that extra punch, that carry forward your message. But in reality here, if you look at the content, that has more weightage than the delivery. But as I told you before, if you have a weak delivery, even your strong content might bias your judge to think it as an inferior speech. But if you have superior delivery, even a moderate content or a so what superior content will still look more superior. So it's like the gift wrap or the garnishing that you have around a meal or a gift. Okay, so the delivery is so crucial that even though it is graded less than the content, but it can really spruce up your content and make you get those extra brownie points. So here in delivery, we have 3 important criteria to be considered. Okay, as a judge, you will look for 3 points. One is the physical appearance of the patient, the voice. Sorry, patient. I'm a doctor, and it comes automatically. Okay, so physical appearance of the contestant, voice of the contestant, and the mannerisms of the contestant. All of this in particular relevance to the speech which the speaker is speaking on the stage. It is not just the physical appearance, that how they walk onto the stage or how they walk down the stage, how is their voice before or after the speech, or what are their mannerisms in the club or outside of the club or outside of the contest arena. You have to look all of this with respect, in relevance to that particular speech which the contestant has delivered. So this is where I have heard seasoned trainers tell, don't judge the speaker, judge their speech. So when you are judging, if you are a judge, okay, if you're going to judge the delivery of your speaker, judge the speech and how the delivery has been connected to that particular speech, and not the delivery attributes of the speaker in general. Okay, so this is very important. So what is physical? Physical is how you appear with your body. So how you connect with individual characterizations or individual sequences in your speech with different parts of your bodily appearance or stage movements. So your appearance, your body, your language, body language and speaking area, all of them come together in the physical appearance of your particular speech. And this is where you will be judged about, and judges have to look forward to it. The next thing is voice. Okay. So here voice, it's just mentioned two words, flexibility and volume, but voice is actually something really very complex. You have pitch, tone, you have speed. Okay. So there is vocal variety, there is mimicry, and so many things can come in voice. So this is an area where contestants can be a little bit more creative. Like, for example, talking something really sad, you would always lower your voice and slow down. But imagine you're talking something really happy about, you raise your voice and speak fast. So you saw the difference, how I was able to change my pitch, the pitch, the tone, as well as the speed with which I am delivering. So this is what your flexibility of voice really matters. And I see this point, flexibility, really interesting, because it's not just somebody does the vocal variety and voice attributes in a speech through and through, but it is the flexibility with which they are able to do it. Like, for example, they start their speech in a very high note, something really enthusiastic, then go through the main part of the speech, which is something really not very happy to share. And then they move on to the final conclusion where they give an ending punch. So the flexibility that you bring in your voice within those 7 minutes of your speech is going to get you those points. And if you're a judge, that is where you have to look for. And last but not the least would be the manner. So how have you been carrying forward with your physical and voice attributes, whether it has been directed towards the audience or whether there is a sense of assurance and enthusiasm. So these are things that you have to get into your speech if you're a contestant, and these are things which you will look forward in your speaker speech if you are a judge. So it has to be directed towards the audience. And when you say audience, it has to be directed towards the general audience and not a particular person, until unless you are referring to that particular person. And anything that you say, you have to have the affirmative action or an assurance that you can do it. Like, for example, this is why we always say, bring in your own life examples, because you have gone through a struggle, you have learned a lesson, you have realized and changed. So you are the authoritative person to tell it with assurance. So this is where your manner will also come into play. And lastly, when you encourage audience to take up this as a call for action, make it enthusiastic. So this way, you're able to fulfill the judging items of delivery, that is physical, voice, and manner altogether. And last, but never the least in the entire judging items is language. So this is one thing that we always feel a little bit reluctant to talk about. We always carry on with an excuse saying, oh, we are not native speakers of English. Well, it all is fine as long as you are in a level playing field. You have speakers who are all from the same geography, who are all non-native speakers of English, and you have judges who are also non-native speakers of English. You can say that I'm not going to be bothered about language. But I'm sure, being a part of District 79, and I'm sure District 20 also has a similar makeup, we have people from different geographies being part of the Toastmasters fraternity. So you can never discount the fact that, okay, there is somebody who is a non-native speaker of English, or there is somebody who is a native speaker of English. So never disregard language. So this is one area where I see preparing contest speeches improves you as a great English speaker. And international speech contest for English is also to develop you as a great English speaker, right? So the language is one area where if you focus, you would improve your vocabulary, you would improve your word choice, you would improve your word usage, you would improve the way you talk in front of an audience and attract them for their attention. So here we have 2 points which the contestant has to prepare about and the judge has to look about a contestant. Number 1 is appropriateness, and number 2 is correctness. Simply put, use the right word for the right situation. Just because you have to get some brownie points by using a vocabulary It is not necessary to thrust some complex word as long as it will not match. So this is where you will have to be really thorough in, and you'll also take support from mentors or somebody who is an experienced speaker where you can actually gain advantage. So your choice of words, your choice of phrases, your choice of quotations should all be appropriate to the speech purpose and to the audience. Sometimes certain words are not accepted to a particular group of audiences. It is better to avoid it. If I were a judge and if you are going to speak something offensive, although offensiveness is not a criteria for judging, judging in Toastmasters Ballot has a degree of subjectivity. So this offensiveness that you dealt with your words on me is going to bias me against you. So this is why we want to make a receptive language for everyone around. The next thing is the correctness of the word usage. So this is where you need to take support if you are feeling that you are a little bit weak or not having the enough strength to have the right grammar, the pronunciation of word selection. So take support from mentors or seasoned speakers, or you could also have some speech writers who can actually draft your speech and check it up. You could also check the simplest thing these days. What I do is like use AI-based tools wherein I put my own, the phrases that I construct, I put it in them just to check if the grammar is correct or not. So grammar is also very important. And again, it also depends upon the judge. Okay, like for example, if you have a judge who is an English teacher, okay, who is so specific about the grammar and whatever little mistake you make in grammar and pronunciation, probably they pick it up and they might mark against you. Well, nothing can be done about it. But at least if you are a judge, remember the makeup of your contestants, what is their nativity in terms of English language speaking, and then accordingly you can look at their grammar, pronunciation, and word selection. Other than that, if you look at it, this only has 20 marks, but this crucial 20 marks can swing you in favor of a first or a second or a third, or not in one of those top 3 places. So it's very important that you give focus to the language wherein the appropriateness of the word, quotation, and phrase usage and correctness of these in terms of grammar, pronunciation, and selection is very important. So if you are a contestant, look forward to it and put them down in your speech script. And if you are a judge, please look forward when that speaker is going to deliver these and you can grade them accordingly. So with that, we finish the entire judging ballot. And let me just try to end up also with a quote from Ralph Smedley, the founder of Toastmasters International. Understanding comes through communication, and through communication, we find the way to peace. So if you are able to understand the judging ballot, there could be no better speaker than you as a contestant. And if you are an empathetic judge, you would take in all efforts to make sure that the judging ballot is well understood and what the speaker tries to communicate, you are able to grade them for that without any biases or stereotypes. So having said that, I conclude my training session. Thank you very much for all your patient listening. And I'm open for any questions and answers, queries, and whatever little that I have learned in my journey as a Toastmaster, I'm more than happy to share it with you. Yeah,
Thank you very much, DTM Dr. Sundar Ramalingam, for the wonderful presentation of the judging ballot. I noted the few questions from your presentation. First thing regarding the timing, if using the stopwatch, and the timer speaker finished at 4 minutes 29.59 microsecond, that will be qualified as per you. And maximum time also same, 7 minutes 30 second 0.59 microsecond. So any timer using either the international timing light, that is also need to the stop manually. And even if you using the on the cell phone or stopwatch, that also need to the manually stop. So there is always chances to microsecond, not I can say the second, microsecond can be shipped down. So can you elaborate a little bit more again on this issue? And then I come to you the second and third question, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that question, Toastmaster Dinesh. The scenarios, as you mentioned, are hypothetical. So imagining somebody stopping at 4 minutes 29.59 seconds is hypothetical. It really does not happen. In most cases, if you look at speakers who have gone through the international speech practice, the experience, they are never below 5 minutes. In most of the time, they are in the green. But very rarely you come across such situations. But in reality, 4 minutes and 10 to 4 minutes 29 and 59 microseconds may not happen at all. Okay? But I'll tell you one thing. When it is 5 minutes, you already have the green light. So anyway, it is beyond 4 minutes and 30 seconds, so the person is qualified. So if somebody stops speaking and when the timer, okay, presses the stopwatch and it is 4 minutes 29.59 microseconds, then technically they are disqualified. So this is actually their new rule. That is, fractions of seconds are not to be considered. So in that case, 4 minutes 29 and 0.59 microseconds, the 0.59 microseconds is not considered. So you have to consider it as 4 minutes and 29 seconds. So the same rule applies when somebody is speaking beyond 7 minutes and 30 seconds. So when they say thank you and over to you, contest chair, this is where you stop your timing device. And at that point in time, if it is 7 minutes 30 and 60 microseconds, the benefit of doubt of the fraction, the 60 microseconds, should be eliminated and considered only as 7 minutes 30 seconds. So this is the clarity that you should have. But these are hypothetical situations. In reality, you might see them happening probably 1 in 10,000 or maybe 1 in even 100,000. But thanks for asking that. And this is just my take. I just wanted to explain this situation. Yes.
Thank you very much. There are many other also raising hand, but related to this, one more question.
Yes, Toastmaster.
Physical contest, as I know, usually the one timer and one supporting who writing the timing. Are you recommending the in physical contest? I'm talking about the only single timer or the two timer. If there are the two timer and they timing means writing the time in the separate and they send the report to the chief judge separately, and the timing is the difference. I can say the 30 second. So how you will consider the timing of the main timer or the both?
Again, so this is something which has to be considered by the chief judge. Okay. In most likely cases, there is a chief timer and there is also an assistant timer. So the chief judges, as far as I know, take the recording of the chief timer. Okay. And why we have two timers is because all these electronic and electrical devices are liable for technical failures. Like for example, you can have a mobile phone, which is more commonly used as a stopwatch. And this you might have a call or your battery might run down. So it is always advisable to have two such stop timing device or, lap timing devices. So one by the chief timer and one by the assistant timer. In most cases, the fraction of difference or the margin of difference between them is less than even 1%, or even I would say less than even 0.1%, because the moment they start speaking, you do it. It's not like the digital contest or the Zoom-based contest where there can be online, delays and things like that. But here, both of them are present physically. So in effect, it is better to have two devices where one, the chief timer clicks on, at the same time, the assistant timer also clicks on. The importance of having the assistant timer in all these physical contests is to use physical color cards. This is the most important thing for them. So what happens is, like, when the chief timer does the electrical color light or something, the green or yellow or red, at the same time, the physical timer or the assistant timer does the color cards. And we insist on that. As a contestant, every time I walk on the stage, and when the chief judge says, "Are you able to see the timing device?" I will say, "I want a backup timing device." Okay. And they always do both. And it is better to do both, because suddenly the contestant might say, "No, the timing color is wrong," and things like that. No, they cannot say that when you're using a physical device. Okay. So this is the advantage of using two timers, one and a backup. And it is better to do it from the club stage itself.
Can I come in?
Yes, sir.
Now that all the contest from area level is going to be physical, so both the timers are going to be in front of the speaker, so there will be no issues on that. We have District 20 past international champion, distinguished Toastmaster Rufus Pinto. He wants to ask some question.
Yes.
Yes, please. Good evening.
Good evening.
Doctor, it was a nice presentation.
Thank
Only
you.
thing I was little confused because it was supposed to be a judging workshop, and the contestants came in. So if it was clearly and purely for the judges, it would have been better. Why I'm saying is because the quality of judging over the years is dropping
True.
to a level which is extremely low. So if it had to be purely for the judges, it would have been better. That's only thing.
Thank you very much, distinguished Toastmaster Rufus. In fact, I discussed this with the event chair, and I have tried my best to bring in both elements. And myself, personally, being a contestant, okay, I have always felt that if I, as a contestant, can tell what contestants look forward to while preparing a speech, that perspective, if the judges are able to understand, okay, it might be a better, a thought process that can happen. Because as contestants, we understand, we go through a lot of things, and most of the time we prepare our speech based on the judging ballot. If you look at it, we make sure that every single point of the judging ballot has been taken care of in any particular part of the speech or not. So this was one of the reasons why I also chose to combine it. And wherever possible, I have been trying to say, even during my training, that if you are a judge, look forward to this one. Okay, so this will really help you. And as you rightly said, quality of judging comes with practice and taking judging as a responsibility. I always say that we look forward, and this is why I reiterate here again that speech is a creative work of art. Like if your child comes and gives you his or her first drawing, okay, you would always say the best evaluation or best comments or feedback about it, right? So look forward to this creative work of the speaker. And if you have that in mind, okay, then you would always remember that it's a responsibility which is to be taken up as a judge. Thank you. Thank
But
you.
if it had to be purely for judging, it would have been better. That is what my suggestion is. Because what happens is judges, many of the judges have not even taken part in contests. That's the reason. So if it is at one angle, one direction, and one focus, that is only my observation, which if it is implemented later, then it's better on any other workshop, whichever is presented. That's all. Thank you. Thank you. It was a great presentation. Enjoyed it.
DTM PB.
Good
You
evening.
can ask your...
Good evening to you, Dr. Sundar.
Good evening.
Thank you
Good
very
evening,
much for wonderful presentation where you elaborated almost everything when it comes to the international speech contest. So I would say, I want to touch upon 2-3 things which you discussed right now. The first thing is about eligibility part of a new club, members of a new club, which is chartered. So that chartering has to, the club need to appear in the roster till when? Say, for example, till which contest it's supposed to be in that way? If I'm not wrong, it is up to area contest, right? Before area contest.
It is up to the area. Before the area contest, usually they say that before the area contest date is announced, the club should have been chartered.
Yeah.
So this is actually, there is no rule that can disqualify you even if you charter a club after the area contest date is announced. But this is to avoid any undue advantages. Like for example, the area contest date is announced 1 month from now, and then I charter a new club just because I want to go in as a member without the eligibility. So this should not be done. That is the reason.
In our district, we normally have a practice of declaring the entire contest schedule well in advance. Okay. That may not be applicable, but before area contest date, it should be there in the roster, if I'm not wrong.
Yes.
Right.
So in that case, if you are announcing all the dates, that is the area, division, and district contest dates, then preferably the club should be chartered and it should be in the district leadership dashboard before these dates are announced.
Thank you. Now, second is about in the current rule book 7.7a, general instructions 0.7a says that anyone who is going to be a judge or a chief judge in any level of the contest cannot be a contestant. Earlier it was limited to only till the club level.
Yes.
On club level it was restricted, but this time it is saying that any level he or she should not be a contestant, whoever is taking part in the judging or to be a judge, you cannot be a contestant. That is, am I right? That is the thing, correct?
Actually, so this, as I told you again, so this is something which comes under the purview of the chief judge and the contest chair. But anyway, I'll touch upon this one. To be a voting judge or a contestant beyond the club level, okay, you should not be taking up any leadership roles. For example, if you are going to go in for any of those elected positions in the district council for the upcoming program year, then you're not supposed to take up any leadership role, be it a judge, chief judge, contest chair, timer, tally counter, any of those leadership roles should not be taken up in any contest beyond the area level. It's area level and beyond. At the club level, there are no restrictions. Anybody can be a contestant and anybody can be. But in general, if somebody who's going in for these kind of leadership positions, usually they do not participate in the club level. And also, a particular, this applies to all contestants. If you are a contest operations leader in a particular contest, you are not supposed to be a contestant or a voting judge on that given contest. So this is also applicable.
May I come in? Because the new rule book says 0.7 general instructions, 0.7a read like this. I will give you just how it is written in this. Voting judge, tie-breaking judge, or chief judge at any level in any district at the same contest type in which they would be competing. That means even at club level, if I attend a club level as a judge, I cannot be a contestant even at club level for the same category. Say we are discussing about ISC today. If I am a voting judge for a ISC contest in a club, I cannot participate as a contestant even at club level. This is what this rule book says. If I am not, because this is what I read in the rule
correct.
book.
You are correct.
Okay. So that is a new addition. And
okay, fine. Thank you. Thanks for the information, DTM PB. Okay. And this, let me
Another
also
thing-
check it because probably I might have overlooked it. Yes, please tell.
okay. Another thing what you said is referring previous speaker.
Yes.
And you mentioned like if you are lucky to be the 9th speaker or you are a 5th speaker, 3rd speaker is referring the previous speaker. But it is a contestant in the same contest. That is what I understand.
Yes,
about
yes, it is in the same contest. Yes, it is not.
So-
Like, for
so
example,
not
you had the
necessarily
humorous
to be the
speech contest.
previous speaker. Even a speaker
No.
after you is coming up, if you know the speaker and if you know even referring their name could be a ground of protest against you. Am I right?
Yes, it is in the same contest segment. Okay, like for example, if you have had a humorous speech contest and immediately after that you have an international speech contest, referring to something from the humorous speech contest is not a ground for protest. But if you refer to something or somebody who spoke before you in the international speech contest, it is a ground for protest.
Who spoke before you and who is speaking even after you is also comes under this.
Well, hypothetically, it is not possible. But yeah, practically it is not possible, but hypothetically it may be possible.
If I refer, say, suppose I am contestant number 2 and DTM Rufus is contestant number 5. If I mention DTM Rufus' name in my speech, it is a ground for objection.
Yes, it can be a ground for protest. But again, there is no particular wording in the rule book in this one. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But as far as I have gone through the rule book, there is no particular wording that says that you should not refer to an upcoming speaker.
It is mentioned like this, no? Reference to another person's content. So it doesn't say that previous speaker or after you. Only mentioning
you're right.
another person's content. That's why. Because even your screen, if you look at your screen, when you mention eligibility, originality, and reference to another speaker, there you mentioned it another speaker. The previous one was like, when you discussed about it, it was a speaker who spoke
Previous
before.
speaker, yes, you're right, sir.
Yeah.
So referring to any particular contestant other than you, okay, would be a ground for protest.
Okay. You mentioned about a committee part. Chief judge will like temporary committee. Is it committee or the committee basically to review or to discuss the protest is the judging panel as such, right?
Yeah, it is the judging panel, exactly. The judging panel discusses and decides about it.
Anyone,
it is the
contest chair, the event chair, or anyone has any other role in this?
Nobody has a role in it. It's only the chief judge and the panel of judges.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you very
Not
much.
even the tally counter.
Other than tiebreaker judge.
Yeah, of course. Of course. Now, tiebreaker judge also have no role in that protest part when it comes to that. Like judges, that the committee is comprising chief judge and the judges, right?
Yeah, this is where I tried to bring in the point, voting judges and tiebreaker judge. Okay, so the voting judges, they give only the top 3 positions for each particular contest. The tiebreaker judge gives 1 to 10, or they rank all the speakers in order of their performance according to them. Okay, so the voting judges and the judge together, chief judge together comprise this panel.
I know there are many hands raised, but I will add last question from my side is there is
Can we give the platform to Abdul Rahman, Nasser, Ramkumar?
the last one,
We
please,
will come back to
allow,
you.
because it is not referred to. That is the reason I wanted to ask this question. There is a we heard about tiebreaker judge, voting judge, chief judge. There is a qualifying judge. Is it applicable in contest up to district level or only for the international? I mean the semi-final round.
As far as I understand, the eligibility, the qualifying judge is to, they have the discretion to decide a person is eligible or not. Okay, so this does not apply in the district level. I think it comes from beyond the district level, you know, not even in the video quarterfinals, it comes from the semi-final and beyond.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Clarifying this thing. Thank you.
Can we go to Toastmaster Abdul Rahman, Nasser? Sorry for keeping you waiting.
No worries, no worries. It was an interesting conversation, I would say. My question is much simpler, yet it might be a bit complicated. As far as I know, I'm still a very young Toastmaster. I'm still starting my journey. I'm only 21 years old, but I have a question. So when a contestant go to deliver a speech, there are many judges that all of them have the same criteria, but each one of them give a different evaluation. So as a judge, how can I make sure that my evaluation or my judgment is not related, or like what's the biggest factor that could affect my judgment from my personal critique to my criteria that I have for the contest itself? I hope that my question is clear.
I believe, let me just rephrase your question. As a judge, okay, if I have to judge a number of contestants, what should be my criteria to avoid biases? Is this something that you are trying to portray around?
Yes,
okay,
but at the same time, if you can tackle it from a contestant perspective, so we could know even us as contestants, what is the thing that, like for example, we get most judged on? For example, is it our charisma as speakers, or is it how fluent are we in the language? Like, what are the factors that control?
Okay. First and foremost, the idea behind any training directed towards judges is to avoid these kind of confusions in the mind of a contestant. Because when we train judges, we want them all to be in a level playing field. That is, they all look at a contestant with the same perspective. Like for example, I have judge A, B, C, D, E. Those 5 judges look at the contestant with a similar perspective. And that is the idea behind having an objectivized judging ballot, okay, which has these 3 segments, content, delivery, and language. And we also have subsections. And also to remove subjectivity and bring in more objectivity, Toastmasters International has included those 4 grading criteria, excellent, very good, good, and fair for each sub-item. So if the judges have to be looking at it really very objectively, then this confusion can be eliminated completely out of the mind of a contestant. But unfortunately, or it's not practically possible, because we are humans at the end of the day. We are not robots. Okay, so there is some degree of subjectivity that always happens. So how am I going to tackle this as a contestant? Well, for all good reasons, all the judges are anonymized. You don't know who is a voting judge, who is a tiebreaker judge. You will know who is the chief judge, contestant, tally counter, timer, everybody. But the judges, you will not know it. Okay, so you will have to look forward what is the makeup of judges who's going to be in your contest on that particular day. For example, if you are in a division level contest, it is going to be people who are going to be from your particular division. And there has to be an equal representation from the areas where the contestants are participating. So you can know a reasonable makeup of your judges. And based on that, you can try to fit in your speech so that it fits in to the audience level. See, as a contestant, of course, you are trying to impress upon your audience, but it is most important that you impress upon your judges. So knowing the makeup of your judges or guessing the makeup of your judges, you cannot know it, you can guess it. That's one way of doing it. The second thing is knowing the judging ballot in and out, so that you are fitting your speech into these criteria, all those three criteria that have been put in content delivery and language. So if you are fitting in your speech to these criteria, this is the next important step that you can do. And the most important step that I would suggest you is like, make your speech, it's called an international speech for no bad reason, okay? It's an international speech because it has to reach out to an international audience. It's not just an audience from a particular geography or a particular group of people. It has to be having a worldwide acceptance. So whatever speech that you are delivering, let it be powerful, charismatic, and impressive for anybody, okay? It could be a person from District 20 or from District 79 or from the districts in the United States or districts in India or Europe. So your speech should reach out to that global audience. So that way you can eliminate this confusion. Beyond that, the level of the degree of subjectivity is something beyond our control. So I would request you, if you are a contestant, to take this out of your mind, focus on your preparation, and definitely you will have good results.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, DTM Sundar, Dr. Sundar. And we have a
Yes.
final question from our Distinguished Toastmaster, Ram Kumar Nachpalli, DTM.
Thank you, DTM Manadatta Murli Manohar, for giving me the opportunity to speak. And excellent presentation, commendable job with the serenity, calmness, and mindfulness. We all have learned new things, Dr. Sundar. Congratulations for the excellent presentation.
Thank you.
Further
Thank you,
speaking on this subject, as a chief judge, because we have served district enormously beyond the borders as a chief judge, and various areas, including the role players, surgery town, ballot counter, tiebreakers. Question pertinent to the question is, if the contestant number 1 doesn't show after naming, after speaking order mention, what should we will do? Virtual we're not going to do, but physically what we are going to do? First question. The second question. Props.
Yeah.
How you're going to receive the props, and the last minute you don't receive any message about the speaker, because it's an international speech contest, and the international speech contest, definitely the speaker is supposed to inform about using of the props, and suddenly you see the props. Are there any negative scoring? Third question. Can I go with the third question or after this?
Let me just answer your first two questions. And then, okay, fine. You can go ahead with the third question. So I will try to cover it up.
No. You can answer for the first two, then let's go for the third.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay, let me go for the first two. Okay, let me just quickly, I know that we are running short of time. The first question, as you said, when the contestant is called up, okay, and if the contestant is not present. I just have to go into the rule book to see if there is any particular wording on that or not. But in general, the chief judge decides on that. And the general rule, see, this is the reason why we always have the contest toastmaster or the contest chair or the MC reading out the entire set of rules. And we all talk about integrity as a key pillar of Toastmasters International. So the integrity, that's where lies. So the contest toastmaster always reads out that when the contestant is not present in the speaking hall, when they are being introduced to the entire audience, at that point, if they are not present, then it's a ground for disqualification. The chief judge can say that the contestant cannot be participating in this. This has happened. So again, there are no rules written about it, but usually this is what the rules that are set in. So this will be answering your first question. So it is not just when you call them on the stage, but it is rather when you call them to introduce them. Like, for example, the contest toastmaster reads out the script like this. For all the audience present here, the judges and the timers and tally counters, these are our contestants for today. Contestant, and they speak out their names. At that point in time, this is the roll call. At that point in time, if the contestant is not in the speaking hall, without any valid reasons, I could probably add that one, then probably it is a ground for disqualification. It's not just that when you call them on the stage. Okay, if they call them on the stage and if they're not there, okay, it's hands down disqualified. Second question regarding prop usage. Again, there is no wording in the judging ballots or in the rule book regarding props. The contestants are free to use any prop that they like to use, and they are supposed to inform the contest chair or the chief judge about it. It's just only an information. It's not a ground for scoring or ground for disqualification or eligibility. So they are supposed to inform it. And to make sure that the sergeant at arms is also informed so that the prop is brought on stage. And if they bring a prop out of the blue without informing the contest chair or the chief judge, well, only the chief judge and contest chair know about it. Okay, the voting judges do not know about it, and they still will be voting or judging the contestant as it is normal. But again, the question of integrity comes to play. So if you have signed up to be a contestant, it is your responsibility. It is your courtesy call to tell the contest chair, sergeant at arms, and the chief judge about the prop usage. So this is the thing. And as far as judges, if you are looking at prop usage, because there is nowhere in the judging ballot anything mentioned about the prop. Again, this comes in the delivery aspect. Okay, so again, the prop should be relevant. Okay, so if it is something that is irrelevant just for the sake of using a prop, well, then it does not fit the judging criteria. So it has the relevance of a prop usage and how effective it conveys or helps convey the message. This is where, if I am a judge, I would judge the prop usage. I believe I have answered your first two questions. You can now go to the third question.
Third question is very straightforward, sir. If the contestant comes on the lectern and he hesitant and nervous and cannot start, what should be the minimum time to be given by the timer? How much time we can give? The final question I have for you is, what's the attire or a dress code for the contestant? Because we usually say, no, don't wear Toastmaster pins, but in general. Thank you. And that's it. Great.
Yes, sir. So, okay. Regarding the timing, well, the moment the contestant walks onto the stage, if it is an international or a humorous speech contest, the first utterance or first act or first body movement that conveys the speech, this has to be the start of the timing, okay, according to the timing rules. And this is also read out during the contest Toastmaster rules briefing. Well, if they are nervous and they are not able to start, so this is a discretion of the chief judge. The chief judge can say, like, whether you start speaking or not, you are nervous, by 10 seconds, the timer will start. I have not seen this on the contest stage for international or humorous speech contest, but for evaluation and not even evaluation, table topics, I have seen it very commonly, the judges telling the chief judges mentioning it, because people can get an undue advantage thinking a lot more about it. So only for table topics, they say, whether you are going to start or not, after 10 seconds, the timer is going to start the timing. Okay, so this is your third question, the answer for the third question. The fourth question, the attire, even Toastmasters International does not set any rules regarding the attire that you can wear for an international speech contest. But in general, it is better to respect the feelings and emotions of the geography or the audience that you are performing in front of, and better to avoid anything that is offensive. If I have to add a little bit more, this is just a personal take. I would not wear something that is eye-catching. My attire should not be a distraction for the judges. Okay, my attire should just supplement me on the stage rather than superfluously downgrading me. So if I have something flashy or snazzy, until unless there is some relevance why I'm wearing it. Like, for example, I'm wearing, a flashy jacket, with all those light kind of effects, with all the lights that flashes up. Well, if it has relevance to why I'm wearing it, until unless that, I would not wear it because it might distract my judges. I hope I have answered all your questions, distinguished Toastmaster Ram.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's all give a big applause to
Dr.
Sundar Ramalingam, distinguished Toastmaster. We are sharply at 9 o'clock now, and our moderator will be the most happiest person when we close the meeting in time. We thank everybody. If you have any concern and clarification, please do not leave this room with any doubts. After you leave the room, also send a message to me. I will get it clarified with our trainers and also with the other concerned official if it is not within our reach to clarify the doubt. And we are very happy to have our immediate past district director, distinguished Toastmaster Mona. Hello, how are you? And all others present here. Thank you for joining. And I would not like to delay this meeting anymore. Thank you.
Sorry for
DTM.
interruption, Guruji. Sorry for interruption. May I request DTM Dr. Sundar, please stop the recording.
Yeah, I was just waiting for the cue from you.